Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm Arnaud from Bpifrance. Happy to welcome you, Bruno.
Merci, Arnaud. I'm very happy to be here, obviously, and thank you for inviting me.
Okay, so let's talk less about geopolitics and more about finance. You came here, Tikehau is, by the way, I guess everybody knows you now. You came here around 10 years ago, pretty much like BPI, by the way. At that time, you were already a very strong European private asset manager, but you were nowhere to be seen here in Asia, and you chose to come here in Singapore. And interestingly, Tikehau chose to send you, who were already the more senior guy in the sense that you were the first top guy in Tikehau. So why you and why here?
Well, first, congratulations for organizing this big event and starting such an event by singing La Vie en Rose. It was quite bold, but at least it's Nadia to be remembered, and it put you in a good mood for the rest of the day. Why me? At Tikehau, we are very structured, and so when we decided to open an office in Singapore, Antoine, Mathieu, who are the founder of Tikehau, and myself, we look at each other and I say, okay, who should we send now, actually? So we did you, me, okay, so it'll be me. So that's how strategic decisions are taken at Tikehau. And I was supposed to come here for 6 months to a year. I've been here for 11 years. We opened 11 years ago. So either something went really right or really wrong, I'm not sure. But every day we are absolutely thrilled to be here for many reasons. I mean, Singapore is our headquarters. We have now 4 offices across Asia, Hong Kong, Korea, and Japan. And every day we see how productive, how dynamic the region is. Today it represents, in 2025, Asia AUM raising for us will probably represent around 10% of the whole AUM of the group, which is a pretty good achievement. But why Singapore? I mean, I won't say the reason that you all know: pragmatism, the way the government works with private sector here, welcoming foreign companies, being the bridge between Europe and Asia, for sure, but even Europe and the rest of Asia. Being extremely skilled workforce that you can find here. So many reasons. But what about you, Arnaud? Why, what are you doing here? And why is BPI? And tell us about the 10 years at BPI here.
Yeah, we've been here 10 years because we just saw Tikehau coming, so we thought we have to do the same.
I suspect so.
And no, more seriously, we came here, I guess, first thing was, okay, this is kind of the right place if you want to expand to Asia and you're not there yet and you want to try to understand where you should be going, size the opportunities where they are. So the first aim for us was more about taking our portfolio companies and bring them to Asia, help them to land here, help them to, again, size the opportunities. So we opened that office with that in mind. First, helping companies to settle in Asia, and then helping French companies to develop business, finance their exports, and so on. So that was the first reason. Then we realized that we love tech at BPI. We finance a lot of tech, and we realized that Singapore and then obviously China were growing very big on tech too. So we had a lot of partnerships with some of our friends here, starting with Temasek, talking a lot with DBS too. DBS is very interesting for us because it's probably the most techy classic bank in a way. And as Nicolas was mentioning, we also pretend, more than pretend, we aim to be more a fintech than a classic bank. We have, on top of being a big investor, we are also a big lender to French companies. We have 70 billion euros of loans outstanding to about 50,000 French companies. So we have to be a very sharp bank and nimble bank. So we take a lot of inspiration here also. And as you probably noticed in the first place, and as Timur was mentioning, we also saw that there is a lot of capital here. And being a European player, seeing a lot of capital in the finance industry is always something attractive. Which brings me to my second question to you, which is, you came here to bring back capital from Asia, basically to Europe. You do most of your investments in Europe, including with Asian capital. What is the value proposition for Asian investors?
No, actually we came here really to duplicate what we do in Europe, which is 3 things, basically raise assets. And we do that here. We bring Asian investors into Europe, where we have our main strengths in asset management. But there are some interesting figures, actually. In 2024, private wealth in Asia surpassed the one of North America. So there is so much creation of wealth in Asia, Southeast Asia, China, and the rest of it, which is really the place to be when you are looking for investors. But we do invest also here in Asia. We've been investing in Asia since actually 2008 or 9, and we've increased our investment more recently. We are managing a private debt fund here. We're going to launch a decarbonization, Asian decarbonization fund with one of our partners. So raising assets, investing, and doing partnerships. Partnerships, we have a tradition of partnerships, and partners, Asian partners are really great to have. We do have Temasek as one of our shareholders, and again, we are very grateful to them to have been supporting us here and in the rest of Asia. But we also signed a partnership with Nikko Asset Management, which now become Amova, for distributing our products in Japan, for launching a decarbonization fund here. So there is no other things to say that really Asia is the place to be. We are probably much less in the early stage venture, which you are, and you are actually having a great activity here on that, no?
Yep, early stage venture, we do a lot, and we meet a lot with all the Singaporean ecosystem, and we try to build bridges. We have quite a few actually common investments with Asian companies, mostly in France. Maybe another side of tech is decarbonation. In decarbonation, you have trying to bring the classic industry to less carbonized ways and processes, but you also have building new technologies in the energy field. And that's one of the places where we see a lot of things to do between Europe and Asia. We stay very committed to that. We have a lot of good technologies, lots of great companies, quite a few common large companies with Singapore actually in this field. So that's really one of the places where we see, from nuclear to decarbonization, to carbon capture, to whatever kind of technologies, where we really see the potential. You just told us that you were about to launch a decarb fund here in the region. So that's also one of the things we are really seeing as really growth potential here.
It's very interesting because Singapore is the place, I think, where you need to be to bridge between Europe and Asia. And we heard a lot about the geopolitical tensions, obviously, globally. And we see the investors, Asian investors, reallocating actually their assets away from the US, or at least rebalancing away from the US into others, Europe being one of them. And Singapore is a partner of choice. Actually, if you look only at France, Singapore and France has the CSP partnership, which is a comprehensive partnership, which France is the only European country to have signed such an agreement with Singapore. And there is only 5 countries in the world who've signed such an agreement with Singapore. So as France, we do have a plus being here, and we should use it clearly to bridge what is an extremely attractive and extremely dynamic region, ASEAN, and Europe. And ASEAN and even the rest of Asia is very diverse between Indonesia, which are young countries, and Japan, which is declining in terms of demography, but still a lot of potential. Korea, which is super dynamic in all fields, from arts to tech. Philippines, Vietnam, 100 million people. So there are so much opportunity everywhere that, I mean, for us, it was no question. We had to be here.
Another sector which is at the cross of tech and geopolitics is defense. We will have Thales and Naval Group, so large defense companies, let's say defense and security companies here today. How do you see that? Is there bridges to build on that part? Well, there are obviously bridges. We had this discussion yesterday night that Changi Airport, in terms of security, is running on mostly on French technology. So that's another place where we see a lot of opportunities in the future. It's already in place. I know you're quite involved also on that part of the things. What do you see?
No, yeah, defense, there are also obviously a lot of opportunities. We've seen it, French defense industries. I mean, from Thales, which are things that you see less, to the more grand contracts, Indonesia, Malaysia for the Rafale. But we see also defense cooperation there, again, between Singapore and France, which is an old thing. I mean, most of you know that the Singaporean Air Force is training in France, actually, and there's a Singaporean base in France, in Cazaux, near Bordeaux, where the Singaporean pilots have been training for now, I think, 30 years. The French Navy extremely present here. I mean, the Charles de Gaulle came here twice. You have numbers of French ships coming here. So the defense cooperation between Singapore and France is probably one of the strongest, probably even more or stronger than any other European countries. In terms of investment, we see people like GIC and Temasek now actually looking at the defense sector much more acutely than they used to be. So another opportunity is defense, for sure.
Sure. And maybe coming back to my first question, so that was 10, 11 years ago. Obviously, this region, and that's all the charm of it, has changed drastically in the past 10 years. It has grown exponentially. You have opened offices everywhere. If it were to start again for those in the room who consider now the opportunity to come to the region for the first time, would you do it the same way? Would you start by Singapore again? From hearing you, I would say yes. And from what I see coming here every year, I would say yes, but just to be sure.
So I can only say yes.
Please feel free.
Yeah, no, we will definitely start by Singapore, but the region has changed. I mean, you're talking about decarbonization. When we started here 10 years ago, nobody could care less about decarbonization and climate change. Japanese, no interest. The Korean have other things to do. Here, Singapore, we are not really leading in the decarbonization field. And in 10 years, you see the change. And despite of what's happening in the US and the erratic policy on decarbonization and climate change in the US, the region is committed to decarbonization now. So that's pretty exciting. And another matter, Singapore is so good to be the headquarters because traveling in and out of Singapore, you're talking about Changi Airport. Changi Airport is the best in the world. And for those who travel through CDG, we can only confirm that, unfortunately.
It's kind of true, even though it's French technology again. So really, we missed something in Charles de Gaulle Airport. But yeah, some point in time, we will find. Okay, so yeah, still do it again, maybe even more than 10 years ago then. No? Okay, what else?
What about you? What about you? I mean, what about you in the rest of Asia?
Us in the rest of Asia is a big question. We are very picky in the way we choose our locations. We cannot afford. We are very, very strong in France, and we have 50 branches across France. So really what we bring to the rest of the world, and especially here in Singapore, is that really deep access to a very deep economy, actually. We talk a lot about tech in France, but you have a lot of amazing companies which are not just tech companies or young startups. And we have the depth and the access to all these companies. So really what we bring when we expand outside of France and Europe is this ability to really grasp all the opportunities you get from amazing entrepreneurs across France. Again, 50 branches, 5,000 people, 600 investors. So we really, really know the economy. So it's not our aim to be across the world and just grasp capital and make relations. What we really want to do is offer that access to the rest of the world who is interested and bring those companies to grow outside of France and Europe. So we still think that Singapore probably is the best place across Asia. We cannot afford as BPI to be like you are in many places across Asia. So really, I think, as far as ASEAN is concerned, and really ASEAN is the place where you can size growth and you can do business more or less easily, depending on the countries, depending on the times, but basically you can do business. You find friends and people who like to do business, so we would still be here. We are still here, by the way.
But
like never
what about
before.
India? What about India? Because India
is, to me, humbly, is another continent. It's huge, it's complex, it's full of opportunities, but it's something you have to tackle by itself, definitely, I would say. What about you for India? Last words.
Yeah, I mean, that's what India, we're trying to learn in India, and we have to find the right partner. I think in those countries, you do have to find local partner, and it's probably the most difficult thing to do. Like China, we've been in China. We don't have an office in China. We've been going there for the last 10 years. We haven't found the right partner yet. It's so difficult. But when you find the right one, I mean, those markets are huge and exciting.
Next step then.
Next step.
Thank you so much, Bruno.
Thank you, Arnaud.
Enjoy your day, everyone.